Hey everyone, this is Patches the Hardbody. This is a 1991 Nissan Hardbody that had a head gasket failure last year, and this is an ongoing series about actually doing the repairs on that. And in previous episodes we took it apart, sent the head out to be machined, replaced the head gasket itself, and actually did a lot of work getting a new timing chain guides, water pump, thermostat, and actually the head itself. And in this video I just want to show you guys what bad mechanic work looks like. There's a reason why a lot of these things happen, and when you do some forensics you'll find out later on that there's a reason why these things actually go bad. These engines are, you know, aside from the timing chain, which I'm not a huge fan of, and aside from the actual setup with the the oil pump and the distributor locked together, they're really not terrible engines. They're reliable. They're not race engines, but they're pretty reliable. This was smushed. It's supposed to look like that. I had to recover it, and that's kind of close. I mean, I'm not going to really like try and ream on it. I'm just going to put a clamp on it and cross my fingers. And I noticed on this truck that it had one of these bleeder caps on it, like it was trying to, like they were trying to fill the cooling system using this, because they were probably too stupid to realize that they had actually plugged off the cooling system by damaging this pipe right here. So that's actually the pipe that comes off of the block. So you got this hose that comes up here and connects here. In the last episode I probably showed you that that hose was cut and had this bleeder put in, or filler. And yeah, it all makes sense in the end. So some moron crushed this in pretty bad. I think that they probably pulled this engine, or who knows what the hell they did. They may have even replaced the heater core at some point. Sorry about the focus on that. And when they went to go install it, they damaged it, and were just like, oops, let's not tell anybody, let's just fudge it. And they probably couldn't figure out why they couldn't get all the air out of it either, and that's probably the reason why. The other thing I noticed is that the O2 sensor is beat. It's still working, maybe? I don't know. We're going to find out soon enough. So, parts that I have on order. I have this hose on order. I have the bypass hose on order as well. And then I'm going to try and squeeze some of this 3/8 heater or fuel and oil hose onto the PCV valve and get that all plumbed up. And so the new bypass hose, new heater core hose, and then I'm also going to be buying some more of those 5/32 valve or vacuum tube plugs, because I'm removing a ton of stuff here on this engine that's just not necessary. In case anybody was wondering what swirl valves are, these are swirl valves right here. This is the swirl control piston, I guess you would call it, because the actual control is this guy right here. There's this on the bottom side. That's the actual valve. The computer controls that, and it sends a signal to this. And when you're cruising down the road with high vacuum, it actually closes these off, so you're only using half of the intake runner. It's supposed to speed up the process, or the airflow, and get you a better mixture. But yeah, this is when you go wide open throttle, these open up all the way. They're just like little half throttle plates. So I'm actually going to bypass all of these. I'm probably going to take them right off, just because there's really no need to have them in there. So while I'm doing the emissions bypass on this thing, these will probably go. I mean, with no vacuum applied, this is the way they stay. I might just leave it too. I'm undecided. But you can see that once you start cleaning it up a little bit, it doesn't look as scary as it did when it was sitting on the truck originally. So I'm just waiting for the AutoZone to call me. So this hose, when it shows up, I'll just run up to town and grab it, and of course the bypass hose. Everything else seems to be bulk hose that I can just cut and splice as need be. I'm just extremely disappointed. That was a shocker. That was a surprise. Somebody damaged it, and instead of disturbing it, they just cut the hose and put a bypass in it. And that was a major restriction. That was a major cooling restriction. I'm surprised that the cab even got any heat, and I'm surprised with that they were able to bleed all the air out of it. But then again, they put that cap in there, so that probably was all that it took. But that's called hackage. That's some major hackage right there. And disappointed I am very greatly. Let's see. The pair system has been eliminated. The bung that it goes into on the exhaust downpipe, which I don't have the downpipe on at the moment, I'm saving that for last. I put a bolt in it, and you know, the guys over there where I keep the Pathfinder pickup, they were bored, so I said, here, weld this up. So it's welded up, so we won't be hearing anything from the pair system anymore. I'm just leaving the valve there for nostalgia. And I have the Egr valve by delete. There's a bypass plate that you can put between this and the intake manifold, and it just essentially blocks it off, and the Egr valve will be deleted. This was a major cause of drivability concern when I first bought this truck, because this thing would hesitate randomly, but it always do it in the same spots in the road. So it was definitely throttle related, but I think what it was is that this was stuck open, and it was allowing the engine to run lean at spots, so it was stuttering pretty bad. As soon as I capped it off, it stopped doing that. There's a video, I think it was the second video of the series that goes over that. So that's going to be eliminated. I just got to run over to my buddy's shop and grab the extra intake manifold that I have sitting over there that actually has block-off plates on it. And cross my fingers that that holds. I cannot believe that somebody would mess that up and then try and hide it. I guess I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. The way this head gasket was done too, this was probably a backyard head gasket job that was done originally, seeming that they lost some of the washers that actually are supposed to hold the head on with the head bolts themselves. The three of them were missing on the driver's side back here, which explains why it popped the head gasket in the back corner here and started dumping coolant into the oil pan. They also let it run with the original timing chain for so long that it cut into the front cover, and it was paper thin. I mean, a couple more bounces of the timing chain off of that, and they probably would have opened it up, and I would be taking it apart again. So this is the front timing cover off of another engine that's actually didn't have timing chain problems. So that's going to take care of that. The oil pump was a mess, so this is one off of the green truck that I used to use for autocrossing. I actually oversprung it, so it was running at 75 psi plus most of the time, and it started giving me low oil pressure problems for that engine. So I took it off and I put a used pump on that truck, but I don't think that was the main problem. I think we had other problems on that engine, so this pump probably is going to be okay for daily driving. And then, of course, the last video I showed you guys how to time the oil pump and the distributor, and as you can see, we're at top dead center on the compression stroke, and the rotor is pointing at cylinder number 1. I just got to get some new plugs, because in the 5,000 miles that the plugs were on this thing, they got pretty nasty. So I'm just going to throw new plugs in it. And I also have to replace the oil filter, which is probably totally full of, well, I know it's full of chocolate milk. So the plan is to actually leave the plugs out, put a new filter on it, fill it with oil, crank it over with no plugs on it a bunch, and then drain it, and then do the same thing. So I'm just going to buy a couple of really cheap oil filters, throw them on it, fill it with some oil, cheap oil, crank it, because I don't want to spin any bearings. That's my biggest fear, is that this thing is going to spin a bearing if I just fire it up and I just run it as if nothing had happened. So it's going to get like 2 or 3 oil changes in it before I actually do anything else in terms of starting it. And then we'll put plugs in it, put the plug wires on, and we'll crank it and see what happens. I'll be nervous as hell that day. So you'll have to just bear with me, as I will be jittery in that video probably. But the next step after all the hoses are on will be putting this manifold on. I'm hoping, since I have this week off, I'm hoping to have this manifold on probably this weekend, all bolted on, everything plugged in. I'm replacing the injectors. I have another set of injectors that I'm putting on it. I'm hoping to have this all bolted down, the gaskets in place, everything looking good, and then I can call it that a day. Then we can get to changing oil. We can hook up all the electronics and start changing oil, and hopefully maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday, we'll see. We'll have this thing off the ramps and outside. I'd like this side of the barn back. Outside, off the ramps, and possibly startable and possibly drivable. And then we'll have to put plates on it, and I got a whole ton of scrap to bring back. I really need this truck back. I really do. And I'm looking forward to being able to drive it again. It really drove nice. Stock, I'm just going to leave it stock. I'm going to probably paint it all flat black. But I'm going to leave everything else stock. And we'll see how she runs. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And sharing is very helpful. It helps get the name out there a little bit. And hopefully this part will wrap up soon, and then we can move on to other topics. So thanks everybody, and be sure to check me out on Instagram, which is Rainmaker_D21. Lots of hard body activity on that page. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your week. See ya.